Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Wednesday, May 11th edition of studentloanjustice.org. My name is Alan Collins. If you're new to the group, welcome. We're glad that you found us. We are the oldest and largest, and in many ways, only true grassroots group fighting only. And absolutely for student loan justice. We've been around since 2005. We've been featured on 60 Minutes and the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times and all that stuff. Most recently, we were interviewed on Fox News, News Nation, and other conservative outlets, which is interesting. We have a very nonpartisan story to tell here, ladies and gentlemen. So whatever your political stripes may be, you are more than welcome in this group. As long as you don't talk about anything other than student loans. That's where the problems tend to happen. Our political diversity is our greatest strength. And not only can a liberal, but also a very conservative argument can be made in this fight for student loan justice. For the first 15 years of our existence, we were fighting very moderately for the return of bankruptcy protections to student loans. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. It's a terrible thing to do, but it lies at the core of the student loan problem. We still fight for bankruptcy, unfortunately. We have to. And in fact, bankruptcy remains central to this problem. However, since the pandemic happened, since March 2020, we have upped the call, and we are now fighting also for the executive administrative cancellation of not 10,000, not up to 50,000, but all federally owned student loans. And I'd be happy to talk about that and defend that as we go forward. If you have any questions or comments on that note, by all means, throw them up if you're watching us on Facebook or on Twitter. And if I can see them, I will very happily respond to them. So let's see today, before I begin, a quick apology, and I hate to do this. So as you know, the opposition is ramping it up way past 11 in recent weeks, and I'd say over the past couple months. The flurry of oppositional arguments being seated in the zeitgeist against us is, some might say, overwhelming. I would say it's frankly hilarious. And I'm glad to see it, frankly. The opposition has no good argument. And the more they overplay their hand and the more they double down again and double down again against us, the more the weakness of their argument is evinced. So the truth rises to the top and our opposition has nothing. And the more they repeat it, I think it will backfire on them. I think people aren't stupid. So suffice it to say, I've been essentially like an automaton on Twitter in recent weeks. I search for student loan cancellation is regressive, and I look and I go, get that guy, and I nail him. And so last night I came across a guy, Marshall Steinbaum, who I think I've seen the name around before, but anyways, he said that statement and I did what I do, and I unleashed the Kraken on him. Unfortunately for me, I didn't read very carefully, and Mr. Steinbaum was being sarcastic. And in fact, Steinbaum has done what appears to be some very quality research on why loan cancellation is not regressive, and loan cancellation can be a good thing, particularly for minority populations. So I apologize to Marshall Steinbaum. It's nice to be pleasantly humiliated, if there is such a thing. But in my defense, and I'm going to leave this with these last couple points here. In my defense, Steinbaum works for something called the Jane Institute, which is frankly a suspicious organization championing the cause of human capital contracts. ISA, something service agreements. Essentially, the idea is that private companies will fund people's college education in return for a human capital contract, where over the length of whatever contract these kids sign, sort of obligates them to pay usually a percentage of their income for a certain amount of time, that sort of thing. And these contracts are beyond suspicious, ladies and gentlemen. I have to tell you, this country outlawed not only slavery in Article 13, but also indentured servitude. And all the legislation I have seen up to this point seeking to create a legislative framework for human capital contracts reeks of indentured servitude. And in fact, one thing I have noticed is that all the legislation that I have seen, I probably haven't seen it all, but that I have seen has gone to great lengths to make sure that the constitutional right of bankruptcy remains gone from the loans. And so I am very wary, if not suspicious. In fact, I am suspicious of the Jane Institute. So while I happily admit the egg on my face for this oversight with Mr. Steinbaum, I will say that it's a very important question on what Mr. Steinbaum, and by extension, being he is a senior researcher something at the Jane Institute, what is their position on bankruptcy? I have not heard that. I have not seen them say anything more than bankruptcy is not available for student loans. And so it's an interesting question. And up to this point, he refuses to answer. So, and normally I wouldn't go on about this sort of thing too much, but Steinbaum, he, it was sort of a good fun at first, but it became a little gratuitous when he started throwing screenshots of my tirade against him previously. So anyways, whatever, not a big deal. But remember, guys, bankruptcy is important. That is my constructive takeaway from this. Also, maybe I should be a little more careful on Twitter. So there's that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions or comments, the question for tonight is, what is Joe Biden going to do? What's he going to do? He's going to do something, right? He's got to do something. Everywhere in the media were saying, oh, Biden's going to do something soon. Somebody over the weekend, the rumor was that he would roll something out this week. Well, here we are on Wednesday, and I'm not seeing anything quite yet. Hey, Aaron and Doug and Chris are here with us tonight. I think there's probably others. Let me see what I can find. Everywhere in the media were saying, oh, Biden's going to do something soon. So what is Biden going to do? I could guess. And my working guess for the past month was that at the 11th hour, right around the time where September 1st rolls around, right around the time just before early voting begins, they would do something that sounds big, like, I don't know, up to $50,000 loan cancellation. That's kind of what I was thinking. But being as how it's Biden and Biden is terrible, my best guess was that it would be like up to $25,000 loan cancellation. So I'm still kind of right in there somewhere. But I will say, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. And by the way, if you have any guesses, I'd be interested to hear. The way the media seems to be framing this issue right now is that sort of the most we can expect is probably up to $10,000 means tested cancellation. And oh, by the way, we should be very happy and thankful to get even that. And hopefully you have some thoughts there. I have my own thoughts. We did a poll, as a matter of fact, among our little group here with over 1.3 million members at this point between our petition and our Facebook group and so forth. Only 5,000 people responded to this poll, I should say, which is pretty terrible participation in my humble opinion. But our poll showed that around 75% of the people said that a $10,000 loan cancellation would do almost nothing or not even make a dent. So less than 10% loan cancellation would they see from a $10,000 loan cancellation. Only 5.5% of the respondents said that $10,000 loan cancellation would completely eliminate their debt. So that's a far cry from the, I believe, 30% that is being touted in various swampy media. I think Forbes may have made that claim, etc. Hey, Doug Grossman says, that's what I've been reading as well. I saw the results from the poll. Yeah, I don't think $10,000 is going to eliminate the debt of 30% of the borrowers. Again, I think that a lot of interest, I cannot prove this, but I think a significant amount of interest is not being reported in the Department of Education data. So I think that 30% could be low. I am virtually positive, but again, I can't prove that Elizabeth Warren's $50,000 claim will absolutely not extinguish the debt of 80% of the borrowers. I think that is nonsense. I think that's a pipe dream. And man, if there's any reporters watching this, will you please do a Freedom of Information Act request or just straight up ask the Department of Education if they are reporting interest that accrues on defaulted loans after the time of default in their federal reporting, in their loan portfolio reporting on their website. They were not as of 2009, and I'm such an idiot. I had an email on one of my old machines, old email accounts from a Department of Education staffer who was quick to point out that their figures for the size of their defaulted loan portfolio did not include interest after the time of default. If that reporting practice persists today, then, ladies and gentlemen, all bets are off. The true amount of total student loan debt, total federal student loan debt, is probably low by hundreds of billions of dollars. So anyways, that's a little bit of a side thing. But Doug says the mainstream bullshit, his words, not mine. No, those are also actually my words, is saying he will not cancel more than $10,000 and nothing about it being an interest predatory system. Right. Exactly, Doug. The mainstream media is not our friend on this, ladies and gentlemen. Forbes magazine are terrible, for example. CNBC is increasingly terrible. Yahoo Finance is as bad as Forbes. And there's just, I'm not even going to mention them all, but 90% of the media that you see on this issue is crap. Hey, Crispy Streets with us tonight. Hey, Chris. If he does 10,000 or 50,000, he may not be willing to do more after the system is turned on and no one can pay. Yeah, what happens after that is anybody's guess. But I can tell you, Chris, as long as bankruptcy remains gone from these loans, no announced loan cancellation from Biden is worth anything. 17 years of history has shown that every time a promise is made to cancel student loans, whether it's through any of the income-driven repayment programs, whether it's through income IBR, public service loan forgiveness, pay, repay, ICR, more than 99% of all the borrowers get jilted, disqualified out of those programs. They fall out of those programs for one reason or another and don't get a dime of the forgiveness. I don't call it forgiveness. I call it cancellation. Promised. 99% get kicked to the curb, and almost all of those people are left owing far, far more than had they never tried in the first place. Hey, Aaron Root says they're going to avoid data and conversation that discloses who the huge loan interest generated profits. Yeah, the Department of Education is a black box, Aaron. We haven't been able to count on them for anything ever. And I've asked researchers, by the way, in the past year, at least once, if not twice, I've actually begged Elizabeth Warren's office to get to the bottom of that very important question on interest accrued after a loan defaults. It may be that they are. It may be. It may be that was only pertaining to the FFELP portfolio, which was the predominant portfolio way back then in 2009. But it's a very interesting question that I think deserves a real, legitimate, believable answer from the Department of Education. Hey, Crispy Street says again, our best bet seems to be S2598. People to see how the system has failed, maybe mass bankruptcy, then maybe Biden would cancel. I don't know about all that, Chris, but I think you're right, actually, quite frankly. The only thing that I can say for certain is that as long as bankruptcy remains gone, any loan cancellation gimmick that the Biden administration rolls out before the election is not going to be trustworthy at all. And quite frankly, as a political move, I think that's a horrible mistake by the Democrats, because apparently they haven't gotten the memo, but nobody trusts the Department of Education anymore. Nobody trusts this student loan behemoth. And so I think they have to do far, far, far more than that before the election if they are going to have any hope of clinging on to their quite tenuous power in the Senate and the House in the November elections. We're a long ways off. We've got 6 months, 6 months before the election. So anything can happen in between now and then. But I can tell you that the big numbers don't lie. And we are indeed the largest untethered voting bloc in U.S. history. Consider, if you look at just federal student loans and private student loans on their own, that's 57 million borrowers and cosigners. Now, certainly, and 43.2 million of those are federal borrowers. And if you believe Betsy DeVos or her federal student aid chief operations officer, Wayne Johnson, just before COVID, and I do, 80% of all the federal borrowers were underwater on their loans before the pandemic. So if that is true for private loans, then it's probably pretty close. We're talking about 43 million distressed student loan borrowers in the country. And they span the political spectrum. These aren't just Democrats. These are about half and half split between Democrats and Republicans and independents. So we're being a little unfair there. We're lumping the Republicans with the independents. But what I just said is true. That's a lot of people. 57 million people is enough people to elect a president, nearly. 42 million people is by far enough to swing any even slightly close political race in any congressional district. In any congressional district, there's roughly 80,000 people. That's of a district of, I think, 700,000 people. There's roughly 80,000 distressed student loan borrowers in that district. That's a lot. That's enough people to swing any primary. In fact, probably almost win a primary outright, depending on what the voter participation rate is in those districts. It's usually pretty low in an off year in the primaries. So, so they screw with us. They toy with us at their great peril. And that goes not only for the Democrats, that goes for the Republicans too, but in a different way. The Republican, first of all, just to finish the point, the Democrats are apparently taking us for granted or something. I don't know what they're thinking, but they're playing with fire, because we voted for Joe, and his promises before the election compelled tens of millions of votes on this issue alone, cancellation. If they think that they can throw out some more promises again and will bite again, they are wrong. People are not stupid. But the Republicans, I don't know which is more idiotic, the Democrats or the Republicans. The Republicans are wagging their finger at us and they're saying, oh, I'm not going to pay for doctors and lawyers. And they're saying two things. They're saying, I'm not going to pay for any doctors and lawyers. Why should my tax dollar pay for a doctor and lawyer? Go to college, rich doctor and lawyer. And then out of the other side of their mouth, they're going, I'm not going to pay for your worthless degree. So which is it? Is it that all these people have worthless degrees or that they're all rich? Like, that's just a stupid irony on the side of the Republicans. But the fact of the matter is the Republicans are cutting their own throat too. They are flirting in a very real way with yanking defeat from the jaws of victory. You know, the tailwinds are at their back. And this is their election cycle to lose. And I can't think of many ways they can lose these midterms, but the one way I can think of is by continuing to wag their finger at the 42 million stressed out student loan borrowers in the country, half of whom are Republican or independent. Like, how did that last election in Georgia go? Yeah, Georgia is one of the worst states in the country on student loan debt. A $48 billion state budget in the little state of Georgia, $82 billion in student loan debt, mostly federal. So why was that election even close? Yeah, the Republicans are threatening to crash this car despite everything they have going for them right now. So what is that, Dumb and Dumber or something? But to get back to your point, was that Aaron? No, it was Michael Cheney and Crispy Street. Our best bet is S2598. In fact, that's the most important thing that I'm going to say tonight. Bankruptcy lies at the core of this problem. And as long as bankruptcy remains gone, no student loan cancellation gimmick they might roll out right before the election is going to be meaningful or trustworthy at all. Only with the threat, the leverage of bankruptcy back on our side, as it exists for every other type of loan in this country, can we expect even a modicum of good faith administration of the loans, up to including everything, but including also whatever loan cancellation gimmick they might roll out. So yes, S2598 is extremely important. And if you forget everything else I say tonight, remember this. If you want to help, the most effective use of your time, whether you want student loan cancellation, whether you want some break on interest or some break on something, some middle ground solution, or whether you've had it and you need to file for bankruptcy, whatever you want, it all starts with getting S2598 passed. And so to that end, the most effective use of your time is to go to our website, studentloanjustice.org, and do the daily actions. In fact, I would say do like a month worth of the daily actions. They're quick. It's Twitter stuff. So you got to have a Twitter account. And don't be like an automaton like me, like I was yesterday, but it's just hard to do. Twitter is a dehumanizing place. But yeah, go to our website, do at least a month worth of our daily actions, and that will put you in very good stead with us. If you want to pull your weight, this is a working, fighting group, by the way, guys. You can't sit here and eat popcorn and expect that this problem is going to get solved and it's going to fall into your lap. It doesn't work that way. It never has. Not in the 17 years that we've been doing this. You've got to own this problem. Like Doug is, like Chris is, like Michael's doing. I know, I see them fighting all the time. You need to join us and join in the fun. You're not better than us. You're not better than us. You're not. You can't cheerlead. You can't. It's not like, hey, you guys go solve this problem. And hey, could you give me a piece of pizza while you're up? No. That shit does not wash here on this group. Pardon my French. You need to put your own work in on this block. You've got to help us. These are your loans. This is your problem. And as unlikely as it seems, this group here is really the tip of that spear. We're the eye of the storm. You know, we would not have bankruptcy legislation to fight for, but for the efforts of the people on this group. I don't think we'd be talking about student loan cancellation by executive order, but for the fact that we started our petition, change.org/cancel student loans, like 6 months before Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer embraced the concept. And we're glad they did, by the way, but I'm telling you guys, we are screwed by the bipartisan cracks, by the partisan cracks. And quite frankly, Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer, they dumbed down the concept of executive student loan cancellation with this up to $50,000 cap. It's stupid. It's meaningless. It's gibberish. Up to our lawyer words. Those are weasel words. Like, it's the kind of thing you'd hear at a used car lot or something. Up to could mean anything. And if the Department of Education has its way, and they will bureaucratize it to death to make sure that up to comes to mean almost nothing for almost everyone. Oh, you get $3,000. I know we set up to 50, but yeah, it means testing, all this. Yeah, you get $3,000, you get $5,000, you get nothing because you didn't fill out your form right. You get nothing because you earn too much. You get nothing because you have blue hair or something. They'll find a way to not cancel loans for the overwhelming majority of borrowers, which is what they've always done, what they're doing now, what they will always do. So please, if you care about this problem, take it seriously. We are the pioneers, and you can't unhear that. And as corny as it may sound, and some of the older people have heard this in their typing classes, now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country. And that is just very, very true. We can't count on the talking heads to solve this problem for us. We certainly can't count on the academics to solve this problem for us. Many of them have a lot of baggage, and many of them very quietly put their thumbs on the scales against us. Not saying Marshall Steinbaum is one of those crowds, but I would like to get an answer on my bankruptcy question, Marshall. We cannot count on the people in Washington, D.C. We cannot count on the media. We can't count on anyone but us. We're the borrowers. We own this problem. And that's me, and that's you, and that's Ed, and that's Doug, and that's Michael, that's Crispy Street, and that's everybody else on this group. And by the way, if you want to become a very effective student loan justice warrior, go to our Medium site and read the most recent 5, 6, 7 articles that we've written. Some of that is very compelling, unbroken research, like the fact that older people now outnumber younger people with student loans, like the fact that nearly 2/3 of all borrowers were not paying on their student loans before the pandemic. Never seen that in the media. Stuff like that, like the fact that what I said before, that more than half of all borrowers are either Republican or independent. Read those articles, enjoy them. They're quick. They're very short. Read them, enjoy them, inculcate them, and you will become a very fierce student loan justice warrior. So you can go forward and fight the bad guys and shut them down really easily. The amount of bullshit being thrown out against us is it's easily knocked down, but you kind of got to show up, and you kind of actually have to be there to actually knock it, flick it away. If you're not there, then the bullshit stands, that's kind of how this goes. So we're all we've got, guys. I'm not kidding you. We're all we've got in many ways. But at the same time, we're really all we need, if you think about it, right? Just in this group, we've got 1.3 million people. Can you imagine if even a third of those people were actually doing stuff every day? Can you imagine what a muscle that would be to flex if 300,000-400,000 people were making phone calls to Capitol Hill every day? We're overwhelming the Twitter accounts of all the bad guys every single day. We're contacting the media and telling them to do stories every day. Yeah, this problem would be gone in no time. That all starts with you guys. All starts with you. Always has, always will. I'm doing everything I can on my end. Chris and Doug and Michael and everyone else I see on this group here tonight, they're doing what they can do. They're pulling their weight. You need to pull yours. And to everybody out there, Chris, Aaron, Michael, Doug, I salute you. We are the shit, guys. We are getting this done, and we should. That's a tip of the cap to all of you gentlemen, and anybody that I'm not seeing, because I can't always see the comments. And so any harsh finger wagging I do is certainly not meant for you guys. And you guys know that, because I know you guys are getting as pissed as I am to see all the inactivity on our group. It's disgusting. It's ridiculous. People think this is like entertainment or something. Like they can sit back and watch. And I'll tell you, the one thing that our opposition wants you doing is sitting back, waiting, watching, and worrying, and reading Forbes magazine or Yahoo Finance or any of that other drivel that's being pumped into the zeitgeist, pumped into our brains on a daily basis. They love that. They want you scared. They want you afraid. They want you feeling helpless. They want you shuffling through the world with your tail in between your legs. That's what they want. Don't give them the pleasure, please. Feels good to fight. In fact, it feels great to fight. We win every battle we're in. So just remember that. Hey, Michael says it's good to be able to talk again. Right? You know, it feels good to be fighting this battle, guys. We tell the truth. That's all we do. All day long, we tell the truth. That's it. And we shut down some very vile people. From time to time, we shut down very famous people, but most importantly, like Mike Rowe or Bill Maher. Hopefully those days will come where they apologize to us, and they should. But more importantly, guys, we are informing the public of information that is true and information that they do not know, information that will completely 180 degrees change their opinion on this matter. If everybody in the country actually knew that most student loan borrowers over the age of 35, that people over the age of 50 outnumber the people under the age of 25 with student loans, and they owe 300% more, if everybody knew all that, if everybody knew how predatory this viciously unconstitutional lending scam is, they would be on our side. You know, the people who are truly against us, you probably and know the truth and are still against us, like the actual bad guys, you could easily fit them in a football stadium. In fact, you could probably fit them in a large tavern. It's probably like less than 15 or 20,000 people who actually are actively working against us. Maybe a few more, but it's a tiny, 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 tiny number of people. We should have 99 point something of everyone on our side. So, hey, Vanjie, how are you tonight? Good to see you, Vanjie. Hey, Doug says, if only 1,000 more of us would put in the actions, it would make a huge difference. Where is everyone? That's what I'm asking. Like, I'm telling you guys, this is the group. You know, we're a voice in the wilderness for 15 years now. 15 of the first 17 years. We got lucky on a few things, featured on some stuff, and we've done, you know, great work over the years. I take nothing away, but this group is it. Like, I don't know where everybody else is. I kind of figured that, you know, we would be winning this battle far earlier, but the fact of the matter remains, this is your problem. And unless and until you help us fight it, we're likely to be screwed over again and again and again and again forever. Now, this lending system has failed. So we got that going for us. The pandemic truly is the nail in the coffin. The lending system is vanishing into a mist of illegitimacy. But this could have some very very widely disparate array of outcomes. We could get a good, quick, clean death. And quite frankly, if the Democrats were smart, they would cancel all the loans before the election. Quite frankly, Donald Trump's biggest mistake was that he didn't cancel all of the loans in 2020. He should have. If he was getting better advice, he would have. And so too for Biden. If Biden wasn't such a shill for the lending industry in the first place, he would have canceled these loans on day one. And the Democrats would be in a far better spot today than they are. If the Democrats ever see the writing on the wall, they will cancel the loans before the election. And that's a possibility, guys. I know it may not seem like that, but it is. Because numbers don't lie. And both parties are playing with absolute fire. I mean, people are talking about these midterms being a possible extinction level event for the Democrats. And I have to say, I tend to agree with that. Things are not looking good for the Democrats right now. But what we do, what you do, matters. If we can get even one Republican governor, if we can get Ron DeSantis to see the error of his ways, for the scales to fall off of his eyeballs, for him to realize that the people of Florida owe $119 billion in federal student loan debt while their state budget is only $80 billion, if we get Ron DeSantis to stand up and say, that's it. No, I'm not doing it. Mr. President, cancel the loans. You can do it without congressional approval. You can do it without a dime from the Treasury. You can do it without adding even a penny to the national debt. Most of that portfolio is nonsense. It's interest. The federal government can cancel these loans tomorrow and we'd be breaking perhaps even, certainly not losing much. My best estimate is maybe a couple, 300 billion. If we can get Ron DeSantis to do that, guys, that's it. That's game over. We win. And you could be the person that makes that happen. But not just Ron DeSantis, Greg Abbott in Texas, any of the southern states, they are all screwed. H.R. McMaster in South Carolina. Who's the governor of Indiana? Is that Larry Hogan? No, that's Maryland. I can never remember the governor of Indiana's name, but yeah, that guy. If we get Kay Ivey in Alabama, on and on and on. If we can get even one Republican governor to stand up and join us, that's pretty much game over. We win. The loans will. That will be a sea change in the politics of this country. And people are pissed, guys. Don't think they aren't. I know it looks like a lot is lined up against us right now, but if you look at any of the articles that are being published these days where they allow comments, which is a declining number, but if you look at the comments under those articles, you will see very normal people saying, hey, wait a minute. No, this is kind of bullshit. I'm a conservative and stuff, but no, something's not right with this lending program. And, the comments are breaking in our favor nowadays. It used to be 9-1 against us. Now it's around 7-3, 8-2 for us, if not even higher lately, I've noticed. Let me know if you've seen anything different, but that's all the articles I'm seeing. The comments are now breaking our way. We've never been able to say that before. Also, the resistance to returning bankruptcy protections to student loans is pretty much non-existent now. Non-existent. Where 2.5 years ago, that was our fight. Our fight was bankruptcy, and we had opposition. They're all the same people they are today, by the way. But now, no one in our opposition will dare argue against bankruptcy. So we've got a lot going for us, guys. In fact, we are on the verge. We're on the verge. I don't know if you guys play Jenga, but Jenga, like right before the thing's going to fall, you can tell it's close. It only takes one tiny little push, the proverbial straw that breaks the camel's back. It only takes one small thing to make that whole thing go. And that one small thing could be you. It could be you. So you have literally no idea how important you are. You may be, or you could become. You could be the guy that pulls that one little thing out and solve this problem for us. And I will sign and donate this thing behind me to you, and I will take the shirt off my back. You will be a national hero if you are the person that makes that happen. And remember, guys, we're fighting the good fight. This is an evil, predatory, nationally threatening, like nothing we've ever seen in our nation's history, loan threat. There's nothing good about it. We cannot let this injustice stand. Because if they can do to other loans what they did to student loans, they will. They will do it to medical debt. I'm already hearing murmurs on the street. They will do it to any type of consumer loan, probably that the middle class and below or the non-ultra wealthy people take out. And they will take bankruptcy away from everything. And we'll essentially be living in a slave serf state country. We don't want that. So this is the camel's nose under the tent, this student loan injustice that we're dealing with here. So I don't want to put too much pressure on you here, guys, but the stakes are high, and a lot is right now. What we do, on this group, what we do, what we don't do. This stuff does not happen in a vacuum. What you do matters, and I just can't say that enough. Hey, Michael Cheney says, would say DeWine, but he has no backbone. Hey, these guys are all politicians, Michael. So let's look at Mike DeWine. Let's look at the state of Ohio. Ohio state budget is $65 billion. No, sorry. Ohio state budget is $75 billion. I believe that's true. Yes, it is. Go to our website or go to our Medium thing and double check that fact for me, but I believe it's true. Federal student loan debt alone, not private loans, but federal student debt alone in the state of Ohio equals its entire state's budget. Mike DeWine needs to know that. And we've told his people, we've had phone calls with his people, as a matter of fact, but they need to be pushed. And I think we'll have a much better chance cracking through to one of these governors than we will, at the federal level. I don't know. It's just my guess. It's usually easier to influence a governor than it is a president. Certainly in the case of Biden, that is certainly true. But and Doug Russman says Mike Brown, he is oblivious. Yeah, Mike Brown is one of the true bad guys in the Senate. And he's dutifully wagging the finger. And there are a number of Republican senators doing that, predominantly from the states of Indiana and North Carolina for some reason. I don't know why. But there's also some bad guys in other places. But yeah, for some reason, North Carolina and Indiana are particularly difficult. And I hope you will see that not as a bad thing, but as a true challenge, Doug. Because if we can get a guy like Mike Brown even to shut his mouth, that is a massive win for us. And we're trying. I mean, we hit Mike Brown really hard last week. But at the end of the day, as a strategic political matter, I don't think we can get almost any senator right now to say, any Republican senator to say, yeah, cancel the loans. I don't see that as a political reality now or in the foreseeable future. We can, however, get any number of Republican senators to voice support for S-2598. And again, guys, that's the most important thing. I know cancellation is the sexy one and bankruptcy is like the redheaded stepchild, not sexy at all. But I'm telling you guys, bankruptcy is the most important thing that anybody could be fighting for right now. Getting S-2598 passed and also getting H.R. 4907 passed. That's the bill for private student loans. So the bills are separated between bankruptcy for federal, bankruptcy for private. H.R. 40, if you have private student loans that is not owned or guaranteed by the federal government, like SoFi or many Navient loans or private student loans, Wells Fargo, etc., you want to be fighting really hard for H.R. 4907. On this group here right now, we're not devoting much time to it at all, quite frankly, maybe a little bit. And we will fight harder for it if we see our members fighting for it. But right now, the number one thing in my head right now is S-2598. This is the big one. In fact, if anything good is going to happen in the future, it's all going to start by us getting the right of bankruptcy returned to us. Now, I know nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. I get that. Believe me. That's not the point. In fact, I don't think very many people, perhaps no one, will even have to file for bankruptcy when we get the right returned. Just having the threat of bankruptcy means everything. Everything. I mean, I really think that everything rides on whether we get bankruptcy back or not. If we don't get it back, then we're going to get screwed again, just like we've been screwed every time on and on and on. And yeah, that good outcome that I mentioned where the loans go away and we can move on with our lives, that gets postponed. That gets kicked down the road by months, years, probably, if we don't get bankruptcy back. We don't want that, guys. I'm getting too old for this shit. Pardon my French. I think most people on this group are getting too old for this shit. Don't be fooled. S-2598 is by far and away the most important thing that anybody could be fighting for right now. Oh, by the way, I did hear from the Senate this week, and I don't have anything that I can share with you, but I don't have any bad news either. I'm sorry to be stringing you along. I'm being strung along. I can't say anything more than that. But we have no bad news at all from the Senate. So that in itself is not bad, therefore good. We're closer than we've ever been, guys. We're closer than we've ever been. I can taste it. And I've never said that, but until maybe the past year or so, never have I ever been able to say that I can actually see the light at the end of this tunnel. So guys, if this problem is at all meaningful to you, and you wouldn't be watching me if it wasn't, please. And if you forget everything I say tonight, please remember, do our daily actions. Go to our website, studentloanjustice.org, daily action right at the top. Very easy. We also have a special project going on right now. And you can see it on the daily action. The idea is that we are randomly retweeting any one of the hundreds of tweets that we've sent over the past year. And I'm going to add to this tweet bucket. But the idea is that hundreds of thousands of people, and I think it'll probably be tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, if you get off your ass, not talking to you, Doug, or Michael, or Aaron, or any of the other people who I know are doing the hard work. But if you're not, if you're one of the 90% of the people on this group who are waiting, watching, and worrying, when you step up and you help us throw these tweets out of the bucket so that people sitting in their offices in Washington, D.C. and Manhattan would be like, oh, yeah, I remember that tweet. Why? Wow, that's weird. Why is somebody sending that to me again here? And it's just psychologically, I believe, it's my theory that it will be extremely effective. And, when people see something, they go, they forget it. And they see it again, and they're like, oh, yeah, and then they forget it. And then they see it a third time. They're like, okay, what's going on here? What's going on? That really gets their attention. So do the special project that is self-explanatory at our website, studentloanjustice.org. Daily action. Hey, Michael Cheney says, predatory loans. If farm loans, there would be a lot of fighting. I know, Michael. Farm loans, just a massive giveaway. PPP loans, a massive giveaway to the wealthy. Like way more regressive than canceling student loans. Canceling student loans is not regressive, by the way. Canceling student loans will overwhelmingly benefit the unwealthy. But yeah, all these other loans, you don't hear a peep of protest. Start talking about canceling student loans, all of a sudden everybody and their brother has all of a sudden got something to say about it. Like, I don't get it. That's the universe we live in, guys. I didn't make it. Michael Cheney says, yep, got to get the WD-40 just to move. Vanjie likes the term tweet bucket. Yeah, it's our tweet stash, our blast from the past, our greatest hits, whatever you want to call it. But I'm telling you guys, it's very effective when everybody does it. If we can get a million of those tweets sent out, and actually we can, if everybody sends like 10, it's so quick. Why wouldn't you do 20? And it's kind of fun too. It's like a box of chocolates. You never know what tweet you're going to get. It could be one where we just go off or we're throwing F-bombs around. It could be a tame one. It could be an interesting, it could be one that you remember. It's kind of fun. So I'm just going to say. And by the way, if you want to join our Twitter army, you can see how to do that at our petition, change.org/cancel-student-loans. We could use you on our Twitter army. That would be cool. It's on Facebook, so it's weird, but look for it at our petition, change.org/cancel-student-loans. We've got like 150 people there now. I would love to have 50,000 people in there. No reason we shouldn't and couldn't. And if you're watching this and you're sitting on the fence going, yeah, maybe, nah. Don't do that. You got to jump in. You got to dive in and help us fight. Jump in. The water's fine. We need you. And frankly, if you're like, yeah, maybe I will, maybe I won't, and you decide not to, then you're a dick. And quite frankly, you should just leave the group because it just makes me sick. And I think most people here agree with me. The intransigence on this group is just frankly disgusting. So don't be a dick. You would please. So okay, guys, I think I've gone a little bit longer than I was thinking to do. Terry Dodge here. Hey, Terry. Says he'll bring out his version of up to whatever to try to sway whatever his supporters he got left in time for the midterms. Nothing is going to happen unless bankruptcy comes back to student loans. S2598 must be passed. Terry, I have nothing to add to that comment. You freaking nailed it. I just stabbed a knife into my desk. That's how emphatically I agree with that commentary. So I totally agree. We're getting close, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to just scan here for one last little thing. Maybe one last thing I will say, we're kind of needing to raise a tiny bit of money right now. We've got a pressing financial obligation due, I think, tomorrow. We're hoping to raise, I think, around $120 or so, which would be good. So if you could do it, what is it? studentloanjustice.org/donate, and that will get us there. Oh, yeah, Chris says, it sucks we have to beg for bankruptcy. I know, Chris, it sucks. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. It's a terrible thing to have to fight for. And if you think about it, why should we have to fight for something that is enshrined in the Constitution? Why should we have to fight for the ability to do something as terrible, painful, unpleasant as filing for bankruptcy? That's ridiculous. It's just stupid that we're even here at all having to fight this fight. But I try not to dwell on that. The battle is what it is. Frankly, I wonder why we're here 17 effing years after the fact of starting student loan justice and still having to fight this battle. It's just beyond me. So okay, guys. Hope you're enthralled and enthused. I know a lot of people are getting a lot of stuff done out there, and I salute and applaud all of you. So I will leave it at that. I will be back on Friday. Ed will be back tomorrow, roughly around 7 p.m. or so Eastern time. Get in the game. This is getting fun, ladies and gentlemen. And keep us posted as to your achievements, your accomplishments. Think outside the box. Be clever. Be creative. Do stuff that we don't recommend, or do stuff that we don't suggest. You can think for yourself. Come on, we've been to college. We're not the dullest tools in the shed. We can figure stuff out on our own. So make it happen, guys. We're fighting for you, and we got your back. And you're not alone. And we're glad you're here. So good luck. Godspeed. God bless everybody.